Hello, welcome back to Delectable You. This week we are making a recipe compliments of my dear friend and mentor Liza of Liza America's House. She was gracious enough to let me use this recipe on the show. I've used it many times for guests before and they love it so much and everybody's been asking me for it. So now I'm gonna bring it to you. So what are we doing? We are baking halibut with olive oil, salt, and pepper. Sounds simple? But then we are going to take some olive oil, some leeks, and some cherry tomatoes. We're going to let it reduce with a little bit of salt and pepper for, let's say 40 minutes or so, until all of the flavors infuse, and then we're gonna serve it all together. It's very simple, but it tastes so good you will not believe it. So I've actually already done some work, which you're gonna have to do now. I've got 3 leeks that I have chopped up already, only the white parts. Now make sure with the leeks you have rinsed them properly because they are sandy. So what you wanna do is take the leek and cut a little slit down the middle of it and then rinse it underwater to get all of the sand out of it. And then you're gonna chop it up from there. And I've also rinsed and halved 3 pounds of cherry tomatoes, which are right here. So that's pretty much all we need right now. I'm gonna go over to the stove and you're gonna come with me where I have about 2 to 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil that is on medium-high heat. And we're gonna take some of these leeks and we're gonna get them all nice and crispy so that we can use them later to finish off the dish. So come on over here with me. Okay, welcome to the stove. While I'm over here, just before I forget, I'm going to preheat the oven to 350 because that is what we're gonna bake our halibut at. So let's just get that preheating, very important. Now let's move on to the leeks. So I'm just gonna take about a handful like this of the leeks and I'm gonna put them in this olive oil that's been simmering, well, that's been heating up over medium-high heat, so that we can get the leeks nice and crispy. You don't want them to be burnt, but you want them to be crispy. And what we're gonna do with these after is we're gonna place them onto the finished dish. I've already got one that got away from me and it's already sizzling. So why don't you come and look at the rest of them while I put them in here. That's enough. Okay, so these are nice and crispy. They've been going for about 4 minutes. Doesn't really take very long. You really have to watch them. Because I made the mistake of not watching them and then they burnt and then it was really sad. So don't let that happen to you. So just like you would with bacon, you're gonna put these on a paper towel so that the oil can drain off them because we don't want them to be greasy. So now I'm gonna turn the heat down to, I'd say medium low. And we're gonna add a lot of olive oil. Specifically, I'm gonna add enough olive oil to the pan so that it coats the bottom of the pan. It even comes up about 1/2 inch. What? That is too much oil, you say. I know that it sounds like a lot of oil, but this oil is your sauce and the leeks and the tomatoes are gonna reduce in the sauce and it's all going to meld together so it actually isn't as much oil as you think it is. So if you come in here, you can see how much I've got in the pan, which I think is enough, actually. Maybe a little more. Okay, so now I'm just gonna let this oil get hot. Not too hot. We don't wanna crisp these leeks up. We're gonna let it get just warm enough so that we can saute these leeks. And essentially, we just want the leeks to become nice and translucent and buttery and delicious, which should take about 10 minutes. So let's just wait for this oil to heat up and then we'll add our leeks and then we'll go on to step 3. All right, so while all of that is simmering together, let's take care of our fish so that we're ready when our reduction is ready. So I've just rinsed off this piece of halibut. We've got 4 people for dinner and typically you wanna get about 1/2 pound of fish per person. I don't eat very much, and neither does one of the other guests who's coming, so this is only 1.5 pounds for 4 people. So now that this is nice and patted dry, we're gonna put this in a baking dish and drizzle it with olive oil and then salt and pepper. Now you want to make sure you're giving the halibut a massage. You want to make sure you get all of it covered because we don't want any of the fish sticking to the bottom of the dish. That's no fun. So even the sides, a little extra for good measure. Okay. And then I've got a little bit of salt, and make sure you salt and pepper both sides. Remember, the fish has two sides. Okay, don't over salt it because once something is too salty, there's not a lot you can do to save it, but you can always add salt later. Okay. Yum. And so all I'm going to do now, wash my hands first, and then we're going to cover this with tin foil so that it's going to bake, but the steam is also going to rise up and cook it a little bit as well. And we're going to bake it at 350 for 15 minutes, and then for the last 5 minutes we're going to take the foil off so that it can bake on its own without a cover for the last 5 minutes. All right, so these are nice and buttery and translucent, and they're exactly where we need them to be. It's been about 10 minutes. So now we're going to add the tomatoes to the party. We're going to add this to the pan and then stir it all around so that it all gets incorporated. And then for another 10 minutes, let this reduce along with the leeks. And then we're going to put the lid on after that and let it saute and steam at the same time. After that, we're going to add salt and pepper. We don't want to add salt before because when you're reducing anything, the salt just gets more and more and more prominent. So we don't want to over salt. So we're going to do that near the end. So let's add these to the pan. Oh yeah. All right, so everything's been simmering nicely together. So now I'm gonna start adding some seasoning. I'm gonna let this go probably for another 10 or 15 minutes. You can do whatever you need to. If your guests come early, just turn it down to low and let it simmer away. But right now we're gonna add a pinch or two of salt. In the end, you're probably gonna end up adding about a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half of kosher salt. But do it a pinch at a time because otherwise you risk it being too salty, and we don't wanna do that. So a pinch at a time, and then taste it, but be careful because it's hot. And then I'd say about half a teaspoon of pepper when all is said and done, and mix this around too. So that's all we need to do. We just need to keep seasoning, stirring, tasting, seasoning, stirring, tasting, reducing, and wait for our fish, and then we can plate it and then we can eat it. Very excited. All right, so this fish took a little bit longer to bake than I wanted it to because it was a little bit thicker than I thought it would be. So after 20 minutes, I turned the heat up to 400 and I let it bake for another 7 minutes. That's all it needed. Fish cooks really fast, so you've got to be careful. You think that it's raw 1 minute and then the next minute it's overcooked. So don't let that happen to you. Now watch your hands because this is hot, but you want to put some foil over it and just let it rest for, I don't know, 2 to 5 minutes just to let the juices come back into the fish. So now all we need to do is plate. Once this is rested, I'm going to take a little piece of fish, I'm going to take a dish, I'm going to scoop out a spoonful of the leek and tomato reduction and put it on the bottom of the dish, top it with the fish, and then put a little bit more of the reduction on top and sprinkle it with those crispy leeks that we made before. And I'm going to serve it to my guests, and they're going to love me forever. That's what happened to me. Liza served it to me, and now I love her forever because she's awesome. She's got great recipes. You can find them at lizaamericashost.com. I'm going to put the URL right here. And that's it. So serve this at your next dinner party. Wow, everybody. And meet me again here next week, and we'll do something else that's incredible. Thanks for joining me. This has been Lauren with Delectable You.